the greatest enemy to NATO and the greatest enemy to the United States over the years has been Russia. Russia has been a greatest enemy of NATO for a very long time, since the times of the Cold War. And Ukraine has just been a victim of consequences in its war against Russia. Ukraine has been fighting Russia on behalf of NATO and the United States. I welcome you again to this platform for our today's discussion. I am Migai Gedon, and I kindly implore and request that you subscribe to this platform, because we always discuss issues that affect our lives each and every day. Back to our topic. Now, it is over 1 year now since Russia invaded Ukraine, and most lay people have been made to believe that Russia has been fighting Ukraine. But I want to tell our viewers, I want to tell our panelists, and I want to tell global citizens that the war between Russia and Ukraine is not a practical war between the two countries. The war between Russia and Ukraine is simply a war between Russia and NATO. Why am I saying that the current ongoing war is between Russia and NATO? There is a publication, an article, which I know most of you will not be capable of accessing, or if you will be capable of accessing, maybe you might not know where it is located. There is an article that was written by Gregory titled "The Urgent Imperative to Maintain NATO's Nuclear Deterrence." This article was published on 29th September 2023, and it was published on NATO website. If you read this article, Gregory Weaver, just to tell you, Gregory Weaver, according to the article, is a retired member of the U.S. Senior Executive Service and the principal of Strategy to Plans. He served as a federal senior executive on the U.S. Joint Staff in the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy and at United States Strategic Command in his last government position. He was the principal nuclear, space, cyber, missile defense, and arms control policy strategy and plans advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was awarded the Presidential Rank Award for Distinguished Executive Service in 2021 and the Department of Defense Distinguished Civilian Service Award in 2020. Just to give his credentials. Now, if you read this article, Gregory Weaver is stating clearly the animosity between Russia and NATO. And there are several statements in this article, and I read it, a large part of it I read it, and what is clear from this article is that NATO has been fighting Russia for a very long time, and this fight between NATO and Russia has been on the issue of nuclear weapons. NATO is threatened by Russia's nuclear buildup, and NATO, according to Gregory Weaver, compared to Russia, is incapable of standing a nuclear war. Why am I saying this? Now, Gregory Weaver is saying an ongoing fundamental change in the international security environment is also increasing the importance of NATO's nuclear deterrent. Due to China's rapid nuclear buildup, the US and its allies will soon face two nuclear peer adversaries for the first time in the nuclear age. Now, Gregory Weaver is simply saying that currently NATO is facing two major nuclear threats, one from China and another from Russia. One from China and another from Russia. Now, NATO believes that its nuclear capacity compared to that of Russia or China is incapacitated, is incapable. I want just to take you to where that admission has been made. To address the potential degradation or negation of NATO's conventional superiority in the event of Russian opportunistic aggression, it is necessary to improve NATO's ability to fight and win a conventional war if the US were engaged in a war with China. If such improvements are not made, additional deterrent and war-fighting demands will be placed on NATO's already insufficient nuclear forces. Now, if you read this statement, you will find Gregory Weaver acknowledging that NATO's nuclear forces are insufficient. In fact, he says that if such improvements are not made, additional deterrent and war-fighting demands will be placed on NATO's already insufficient nuclear forces. NATO admits that its nuclear forces are insufficient and inadequate compared to that of Russia and China. And Gregory Weaver is going ahead and saying the bottom line is that European allies will have to provide more conventional capability more efficiently without perceiving the US request to do so as signaling a reduced US commitment to the defense of NATO. And the US needs to provide additional theater nuclear capability. Failing to do both will risk opportunistic aggression in Europe and a war in which NATO will be more reliant on nuclear weapons against an adversary that has a growing theater nuclear advantage. That additional statement tells you that NATO is admitting that Russia's nuclear capability is strong compared to that of NATO. Russia is just one country and NATO is 31 countries. If Russia's nuclear capability is stronger than 31 countries, then we can simply conclude why NATO and the United States are angry at Russia. The current war between Russia and Ukraine ought not to be. The war was to be between Russia and NATO. And I believe that this war is still between Russia and NATO. Ukraine is just a victim of consequences, fighting on behalf of NATO. NATO is telling us that a nuclear war is possible. If not in the current war between Russia and Ukraine, but in the near future, a nuclear war is possible. I pray that the current war between Russia and Ukraine does not end in a nuclear fight, because if it ends in a nuclear fight, then the world would be doomed. We can still reel with the consequences of the nuclear weapons, nuclear bombs that were dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. And the after effects of these bombs still affect the Japanese to date. Imagine a situation when the United States and NATO members, Russia and China and the rest, decide to drop nuclear bombs in every part of the world. How will the world be? I pray that there is a need to end the current animosity between Russia and NATO. There is a need to engage the Russian president and the Ukrainian president on finding a peaceful resolution for the ongoing war. Nuclear war is not the solution to the current animosity between these countries. A nuclear war is not the perfect strategy that NATO can use to fight Russia. I think the world needs peace. The world needs peace. The world does not need war. And these global leaders need to consider the innocent civilians who will be hurt in these engagements. If the world proceeds into a nuclear war, then I believe and I want to say that more casualties will be reported. Deaths and after effects will be reported. I pray and I urge NATO members, I urge the Russian president to seek a peaceful resolution of the current war. A nuclear war is not the perfect solution for the current animosity between these two blocs and these countries.